Om Shivaya, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. Webinar is in two parts. First part, the title is indicated on your screen, is Integrating Hinduism into Daily Tasks. It's the publisher's desk and the coming issue of Hinduism Today, April, May, June 2020. And some of you in the US may already have that printed copy. Subtitle, No Need to Wait for Personal Time for Spiritual Practices. You can do inner yogas, resolve karma, and build your character anytime. As usual, we're going to have a few times for questions in the presentation, and the idea to be efficient is you need to write down the answer. So we'll pause for a minute or two, depending on the complexity of the question, and ask you to write down what you think would be a good answer. So if you don't have it already, you need something to write your answers down on. Digital or old-fashioned paper and pen will be just fine. A few years ago, I saw a public television program that highlighted the differences between world religions by interviewing leaders of various faiths. It became clear that for many faiths, one day of the week is a holy day, and attendance at a place of worship on that day is the primary religious obligation. We can call this the one day a week, single activity approach. A Native American Indian leader interviewed about his tradition said his tribe had no word for religion, as it is just the way they live, meaning that how they perform tasks throughout the day is influenced by religious principles and practices. This full immersion in faith defines the other end of the spectrum. We can call this the 7 days a week, all activities approach. I have found that an individual can practice Hinduism following either approach or chart a path anywhere in between. This publisher's desk will offer suggestions for practicing Sanatana Dharma on the 7-day immersive approach, highlighting a few of the many possibilities for integrating Hinduism into our daily tasks. So that's the key idea. We're doing our daily tasks anyway, and if we can integrate Hinduism more into them than we are doing now, then that's increasing our daily practice. And the other key word there is highlighting. In other words, it's not trying to give us a comprehensive list, it's just trying to indicate a few of the many possibilities. As we know, the more we practice, the more spiritual progress we make on the path to higher consciousness, eventual realization, and liberation. So I added the word higher consciousness there. I think that's important in describing the path, because otherwise realization and liberation can seem so far away we don't even strive for it. But when we add the term higher consciousness, that's definitely achievable much sooner. Clearly, one of the benefits of the immersive approach is that we can incorporate more practices into our week than would otherwise be possible. Here's a comparison that many of you can relate to. A comparison to walking will illustrate this idea. A common recommendation for maintaining health is to walk 10,000 steps a day. If this is prescribed as a separate activity before and after work or school, we may find we just don't have the time for it. To overcome this challenge, health professionals recommend incorporating walking into the work or school day. For example, take the stairs instead of the elevator, or park a half mile from your destination and cover that distance by walking. What sorts of spiritual practices can be incorporated into our work or school day? Let's first see how Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, and Raja Yoga can be folded into daily tasks. Selfless service, Seva or Karma Yoga, is universally encouraged in Hinduism. Oh, we have a question. What specific ideas come to mind for how to integrate Karma Yoga into daily tasks? So write down some of your ideas before we look at the answer that's in the text. Gurudeva comments on its purifying nature. You purify yourself by being kind to others, being generous until it hurts, being benevolent, being ready to serve at all times until you are strained in serving. Put a smile on the faces of other people. Gain your happiness and your positive states of mind by making other people happy. Wonderful statement. The simplest way to be happier is to make more other people happy. It is traditional to perform this activity at a temple or an ashram. Common tasks are helping cook and serve food, cleaning the premises, and sewing garlands. In modern life, it can be difficult to find time to fulfill seva in this way, and therefore, in many instances, minimal seva is performed. The integration approach to seva is parallel to our walking example. Rather than regarding it as a separate activity, incorporate it into daily life at your place of employment or schoolroom. For modern times, I expand the definition of seva to include doing something helpful for another person. It is a voluntary action, one that is not required of you as an employee or student. For example, welcome newcomers at work or school and help orient them to their new environment. Or when the teacher really needs extra help on projects, be sure to volunteer. Devotional practice, as we know, is called Bhakti Yoga. Gurudeva gives this insightful description. Through Bhakti Yoga, the yoga of devotion, the combative mind becomes erased. Beautiful statement. The combative mind becomes erased, absorbed into the consciousness of the one self, the being permeating all beings. Again, Bhakti Yoga is traditionally performed at a temple or ashram or in our home shrine through attending puja, devotional singing, kirtan, etc. However, Bhakti Yoga can also be integrated into the workplace or classroom and hence allow us to perform more of it. At work, you can have a picture of a deity on your desk. If that is not allowed, then use an abstract symbol that reminds you of the deity. You can have a nice looking rock as a Shiva lingam. Mentally offer prayers throughout the day to the picture or symbol. In school, when beginning an important exam, mentally pray to Lord Ganesha to help you do your best. And offer a simple chant, even if it is silent, before beginning all meals. So, see if you have any additional ideas on how you could incorporate Bhakti Yoga into your daily tasks. You could write them down. Moving on. Concentration and meditation are two limbs of Raja Yoga that can be incorporated into daily life. Gurudeva shares this insight. Concentration is an art that, once attained, leads naturally into meditation, contemplation, and samadhi. Well, this is an important point in that particularly those newer to the spiritual path tend to separate inner practices and outer activities. But if we strive to improve our concentration in our outer activities, that same improved concentration is available when we sit to meditate. It's the same ability that's now a stronger ability. And it's actually easier to increase our concentration abilities in doing outer tasks. Concentration and meditation are generally performed in a group at a meditation center or individually at a temple or in the home. But they too can be integrated into daily activities. Oh, question again. What specific ideas come to mind for how to integrate Raja Yoga into daily tasks? See what you can write down. The traditional Hindu concept of mindfulness expands the practice of concentration to include restraining the movements of the mind in all activities. And to remind us of the definition, mindfulness is directing full attention to what is going on in the present moment without thinking about or being distracted by anything else. For example, while at work, keep focus fully on each task and not drifting into past memories or future plans. Of course, that means unnecessarily into future plans. In listening to a lecture at school, pay careful attention to absorb the message of the speaker. Mindfulness improves the quality of our work or study, and the more mindful we are through the day, the easier it is to quiet the mind when we sit for meditation. Same principle. Next, let's look at two general practices that relate to making spiritual progress through activities at work and school. The first general practice is to resolve negative karmas by working through challenging situations that naturally arise. So again, you can write down, what are your thoughts on how to resolve negative karmas? Moving on. One of the spiritual advantages of interacting with many people at work or school is that it gives a chance for our negative karmas to return to us. For example, when we are mistreated by others, we can refrain from retaliating and not even hold hard feelings. If we can accomplish this, we have freed ourselves from that karma. It is resolved. How can we manage such a high-minded response? The first key is to look at the experience as one you were destined to go through, and this person was simply the instrument for its delivery. That's certainly the major point there. Had he or she not mistreated you in this way, someone else would have done so in the future. Oh, that's a very high-minded, if you can accomplish it, way of making the situation less personal. Instead of getting mad at the person who delivered your karma back to you, the goal is to laugh at yourself and wonder what crazy thing you did in the past to cause this to happen to you in the present. That's a better response. The second general practice is to work daily on remaining centered amidst emotionally charged situations. As Gurudeva would say, it is easy to be peaceful in a peaceful environment. To make real progress, we must learn to find peace in situations that are not peaceful at all. This practice strengthens our emotional self-control and also improves the life of those around us. Of course, first we need to learn to be peaceful in a peaceful environment, and once we can do that easily, then we can move on to the second one, which can be harder. Our final integrated practice is to work constantly to improve our character. The foundation upon which all spiritual growth rests. A reminder of how we define character. Character is defined as the sum total of mental and moral qualities distinctive to an individual. Sum total, both mental and moral, that belong to a specific individual. That's someone's character. Gurudeva explains its importance. This is the foundation. Without this foundation, there is no spiritual growth, no fruit. Trying to realize the highest realizations before laying this foundation would be like taking a lime tree that was cut off from its roots and putting it into a bucket and expecting it to bear fruit. Of course, it will not. On the spiritual path, the first phase of effort is to build, improve, and transform our character. And as you know, to facilitate this effort, we published a workbook on character building, which gives us 64 qualities that we can all strive to improve. And then the pub desk lists the first 10 because lots of people aren't familiar with the character building workbook. They're alphabetical. Abstemious, accepting, affectionate, appreciative, attentive. Available, calm, cautious, chaste, and clean. Our activities at work or school provide excellent opportunities to strengthen such qualities, particularly those we are weak on. And those of you who have heard me talk about this before know that that's what I suggest for adults, which of course is those attending this particular webinar. Some characteristics you'll be very good at, and there's no reason to practice those. It's much more beneficial to choose the ones you're weak at. Work on those one or two at a time as an adult. Then for teenagers, we suggest the ideal is you go through them all. Work on them all one or two at a time. Then we get to suggested practice. This is trying to make a practical suggestion that I think would work well for certain people who plan their week ahead of time. Each week, when you plan out the activities to be accomplished at work or school, also create a to-do list of integrated Hindu practices you will focus on for the coming days. So include that on your to-do list, besides the more practical tasks you have to accomplish. This habit will remind you to take advantage of every minute of the day to accelerate your progress on the spiritual path. That finishes our part one, Publisher's Desk. Part two, as you know, we're going through Path to Shiva. We're almost done. Today is lessons 55 through 60. There's 68 lessons, so we have 2 more webinars, and we'll be finished with that. I have to find something new for the second part of the webinar. And the reason we're doing it is focused particularly on those who are teaching it, either to their own children or to other children or to adults. We have some adult classes on it as well, to make a few comments here and there on what's really important. And also when we do the 5 questions on each lesson, sometimes there's something I'll point out that question is trying to emphasize by how it's worded. It may not be obvious to you. But since I wrote the question, I know what it's trying to accomplish. Okay, here we go with lesson 55. What is good conduct? Good conduct is right thought, right speech, and right action. This is a very important point, which is brought out in the first question. In other words, in some religious traditions, it's all focused on action. You can't steal. You can't kill somebody. It's all focused on actions. But Hinduism adds speech and even thought. So thought, word, and deed. We have to be nonviolent, not only in action, but also in our speech. Most adults aren't violent in action. They choose to be violent through unpleasant speech. So that isn't allowed. And then even in thoughts, because unpleasant thoughts, negative thoughts, actually are received by the person you're thinking about and make it harder for them to be successful that day. Being right means it agrees with Dharma and our refined soul nature. Our religion gives us the great knowledge that all people are divine souls on a wondrous journey, learning many lessons along the way. While they may not be outwardly perfect, we learn to see the beautiful, radiant soul in everyone we meet. We look for the best in others and overlook their faults. We try to help others in any way we can to always be uplifting and not critical or hurtful. So criticism, unnecessary criticism, mental criticism is not even accepted in Hinduism. We work with ourselves to be a good example and a joy to be around, not a person to be avoided. It is our sadhana to express the beautiful qualities of love, patience, and kindness. We protect, guide, and encourage those who are younger. We look up to those who are older and eagerly seek to learn from them. We use terms of respect for those close to us, such as auntie, uncle, or elder brother. We greet others with namaste, vanakkam, or om shivaya. Two important customs we follow are never to argue and never interrupt others, especially our elders. The four keys to good conduct are purity, devotion, humility, and charity. The next 4 points indicate how to cultivate it, which is not always brought out. So that's a good one to spend time on if you're teaching it. We cultivate purity by thinking, speaking, and doing only that which is conceived in compassion for all. Same idea. All three, thought, word, and deed. Devotion, we cultivate devotion through worship and selfless service and by being loyal and trustworthy. We cultivate humility through showing patience with circumstances and forbearance with people. We cultivate charity through giving to the hungry, the sick, the homeless, the elderly, and the unfortunate. The first teacher in matters of good conduct is our conscience. It is the voice of our soul. To know what is right and what is wrong, we can also turn to God, to our Satguru and Swamis, to Scripture, and to our elders, family, and trusted friends. And we get to questions. Good conduct is right speech and right action and does not include our thoughts. Of course, that's false and is emphasizing that thoughts is an important part of it, as I mentioned before. Enter the letter from below of A to D for the phrase that correctly completes the idea. We protect, guide, and encourage. C, those who are younger. We look up to. A, those who are older. We use terms of respect for. Those who are close to us. We greet others with namaste, vanakkam, or om shivaya. Two important customs we follow are to check the incorrect answer. Never argue, never volunteer to help other family members, never interrupt others, especially our elders. Of course, volunteering is the incorrect answer. Enter the letter from below of A to D for the phrase that correctly completes the idea. So this is, again, emphasizing how we cultivate purity, devotion, humility, and charity. So we cultivate purity, C, by thinking, speaking, and doing only that which is conceived in compassion for all. Whoops, excuse me, wrong direction. We cultivate devotion, A, through worship and selfless service, and by being loyal and trustworthy. Cultivate humility through showing patience with circumstances and forbearance with people. D, cultivate charity. That one's obvious, through giving to the hungry, the sick, the homeless, the elderly, and the unfortunate. B, the first teacher in matters of good conduct is, and of course the answer is our conscience. That's why is it first? Well, it's the simplest. If we can figure it out ourselves, it saves a lot of time. And if our behavior is of a pretty high standard, then there'll be an answer from our conscience. Lesson 56. What is the Hindu way of greeting? This one is very simple. For Hindus, the greeting of choice is namaste or namaskar. Two hands are pressed together and held near the heart with the head gently bowed as one says namaste. It is both a spoken greeting and a gesture, a mantra and a mudra. The prayerful hand position is called Anjali, from the root Anj, to adorn, honor, or celebrate. In a Saiva community, we also say with folded hands, Vanakam Namah Shivaya, or Om Shivaya. The meaning is similar. Here we go. The hands held in union signify the oneness of an apparently dual cosmos, the bringing together of spirit and matter, or the self, small s, meaning the self, meeting the self, large S. It is said that the right hand represents the higher nature, or that which is divine in us, while the left hand represents the lower, worldly nature. Sanskrit namas means bow, obeisance, reverential salutation. It comes from the root nam, which carries meanings of bending, bowing, humility, humbly submitting, and becoming silent. Te means to you. This namaste means I bow to you. The namaste gesture gently reminds us that we can see God everywhere and in every human being we meet. It is saying silently, I see the deity in us both and bow before it. I acknowledge the holiness of even this simple meeting. I cannot separate that which is spiritual in us from that which is human and ordinary. This beautiful custom opens our heart to see that person's good qualities. We remember to treat him or her with respect and love. It would be difficult to offend or feel animosity toward anyone that you greet as God. Namaste can also be used to say farewell. An even deeper veneration is expressed by bringing the fingers of the joined palms to the brow, the site of the mystic third eye. The third form of namaste brings the palms above the head, This salutation is reserved for God and the holiest of Satgurus. It's a beautiful photo there, and interesting. The sculpture is behind him, doing the same gesture. That's hard to find. As one says Namaste, the hands are pressed together and held near the waist with the head gently bowed. Of course, it's false. It's the chest. The prayerful hand position used when speaking Namaste in Sanskrit is called, of course, C. Anjali. Enter the letter from below of A to B for the phrase that correctly completes the idea. It is said that the right hand represents A, higher nature, and left hand represents B, lower nature, so we're bringing them together. Sanskrit namas means bow. Obeisance, reverential salutation, and te means to you. This namaste means I bow to you. Reminds us that we can see God in every human being we meet. Of course, that's the whole idea and is definitely true. Third form of namaste brings the palms above the head and is reserved for check the incorrect answers. Of course, family members is incorrect. It can be used both for be God and see the holiest of Sat Gurus. Lesson 57. How do we get along with others? An excellent question. Let's see what it says. Family and community are extremely important in Hindu culture, and relationships are valued above all else. Every day we have opportunities to do good, learn, help, and uplift others. Many people find it hard to get along with others. They are always arguing and holding on to hard feelings. In order to maintain harmonious relationships, we must be peaceful on the inside. Then we can make the most of the opportunities life gives us. We cannot do our best if we are worried or upset. So definitely we need to lessen if we're arguing and holding on to hard feelings. It's very important to lessen that activity because it takes away our peace. Peace of mind, called Shanti in Sanskrit, is more precious than gold, and our Hindu culture gives us many tools for protecting it. Worship, service, and yoga are three main tools. Gurudeva also valued another tool called consideration, the art of not hurting the feelings of others. We are kindly and sensitive in thought, word, and deed. We treat others as we would like them to treat us. We praise their good qualities and good deeds. We never argue or use harsh words or angry words. That destroys the Shanti for everyone present and causes hurt feelings. I get some nice quotes from the Tirukkural. The wound caused by fire heals in its time, but the burn inflicted by an inflamed tongue never heals. That's a powerful one. Oh, people remember for years something said to them very strongly that was unkind, much longer than a burn. If we do have a disagreement, we make sure to talk with the person, apologize and forgive, and settle the matter before sleep. By living in harmony with everyone, we have more joy in our life and we are more effective human beings. It is most important to get along with our close family. Harmony begins in the home and radiates out into all parts of life, bringing light and love and goodwill to every relationship. Well, sometimes people talk about world peace and what can we do to create world peace. And here Gurdjieff is pointing out, well, you start with the home. In fact, when he was at the United Nations in 2001, his talk was called Stop the War in the Home. Pretty aggressive title. That was Gurdjieff for you. Stop the war in the home, and then the war in the world will stop. So we need more harmony in the home, and that goes out into the immediate community, and from the immediate community can expand out even further. Have our questions? Okay, that is the wrong question. A few of the questions have some problems. That's one of them. In Sanskrit, peace of mind is called, of course, Shanti. Sometimes Shanti and Santosha get confused. Santosha is contentment and Shanti is peace. Slight difference there. Consideration in this lesson refers to. This is simply making sure that the word consideration is clearly understood. Of course, it's C, the art of not hurting the feelings of others. It is fine to use harsh or angry words when we are right and the other person is wrong. So this is emphasizing that under all conditions, you're not supposed to use harsh or angry words. When we do have a disagreement, we make sure to settle the matter first thing in the morning the next day. This is emphasizing that you're supposed to settle it the same day before you go to bed. And we have lesson 58. What is the value of spiritual friends? As Saivite Hindus, we know this life is precious and are thankful for it every moment of every day. Appreciating the gift of life makes us want to do the best we can, improve our character, serve others, and live a spiritual life. Knowing life's purpose, we hold firmly to Dharma. Like a marathon runner, we must stay on the course to finish the race. Having good religious friends helps us stay on the path. If we mix with a worldly crowd, we may lose our way. Tirukural tells us, as water changes according to the soil through which it flows, so a man assimilates the character of his associates. Oh, this is most important. If you have teenage children, it's the most susceptible time to the influence of negative associations. Friends who are good Hindus will help you most of all. If you befriend a person who is dishonest or mean, his example will lead you into trouble. If you befriend someone who studies hard and is kind and helpful, their example will inspire and uplift you. Some people poke fun at religion or make mischief and resist authority. They do not know the real purpose of life. They waste their time and cause pain to others. Wise teachers advise us to be nice to everyone, but make close friends only with those who will help build good character and set positive patterns for the future. Again, we have a Tirukkural quote. Purity of mind and purity of conduct, these two depend on the purity of a man's companions. Following our religious path is made easier when we are part of a satsang group with shared values and goals. Such companionship helps keep our sadhana strong, especially during difficult times in life. That's an important point. It's always good to be part of some group, not just doing everything by yourself. As Gurudeva often said, the group helps the individual and the individual helps the group. In other words, life is such that we have our ups and downs, but if you're in a group, everybody doesn't go up and down at the same time. So when you're down, others in the group who are up inspire you to do better. And then when you're up, you're inspiring others in the group who are down at that time to do better. So it's group helps the individual and the individual helps the group. Appreciating the gift of life makes us want to do the best we can, improve our character, serve others, and live a worldly life. Of course, worldly life is the part that's false. Enter the letter from below of A to C for the phrase that correctly completes the idea. Okay. Knowing life's purpose. I think the answer is we hold firmly to Dharma. Having good religious friends helps us stay on the path. That makes sense. And then if we mix with a worldly crowd, we may lose our way. Okay? Enter the letter from below of A to C for the phrase that correctly completes the idea. Friends who are good Hindus okay, try again. Their example will inspire and uplift you, I would think. If you befriend a person who is dishonest or mean, his example will lead you into trouble. If you befriend someone who studies hard and is kind and helpful, their example will inspire and uplift you. Okay? Make close friends. We're the two other kinds of people we're not trying to make friends with are those make close friends with are those who resist authority and those who poke fun at religion. So we're trying to make friends, close friends with those who will help build good character. Following our religious path is made difficult when we are part of a satsang group with shared values and goals. Of course, that's false. Lesson 59, how do we practice karma yoga? So this is overlapping a little bit with what we talked about karma yoga in our integration of desk. A little repetition. Karma yoga is selfless service or seva. It often takes the form of volunteer work at a temple, helping with the basic needs and events like polishing the brass lamps, answering the phone, making garlands, and preparing for pujas. This humble service helps establish good character. Jumped. Okay, get back to where we are. The effort to do good deeds can be extended into other areas as well, such as the workplace and the home, quietly and willingly helping others without complaint and without expecting thanks. Such service reaps hidden blessings. In its broadest sense, karma yoga is spiritualized action. Well, that's an important point. To say that karma yoga is simply selfless service is a narrower definition. This is the broadest definition because we're trying to eventually feel that all our actions have a spiritual component and relate to spiritual progress, not just the selfless, not just the seva. It is doing each and every task consciously, selflessly, excellently as an offering to the divine. Nice quote from Yoga Swami. Whatever work you have to do, do it well. That in itself is yoga. So that was the idea we mentioned a few times, that the improvement in concentration we develop in doing tasks well helps us when we try and meditate. So that's why we can say it's a yoga. Work done in this spirit is a form of worship. Doing our ordinary daily duties becomes a powerful sadhana that contributes to our spiritual progress. This yoga makes us more focused, effective, and fulfilled. It eliminates the false separation of secular work from religious practice. So that's the goal. In Hinduism, the goal is to eventually feel, as we mentioned in our integration talk, that everything we do is being influenced by religion. A quote from Swami Vivekananda: "When you are doing any work, do not think of anything beyond. Do it as worship, as the highest worship, and devote your whole life to it for the time being." Nicely said. Here are some keys for successfully turning work into worship. And of course, that works better when it's a slide with movement. The word work actually turns into the word worship. One, pray to Lord Ganesha before beginning your work. It's a good place to start. Two, act selflessly, detach from the results. Focus on serving, helping, giving. Three, work hard, overcome lethargy, fatigue, confusion, and doubt. Four, maintain harmony with others. Five, enjoy the effort. Don't feel rushed. Sometimes in modern life, the joy isn't there because we've gotten into a totally rushed state of mind. Sometimes that can't be avoided, but we should try and minimize the amount of times we feel rushed. Six, make the work a worthy offering, completing it as perfectly as you can. Then stop, review what you have done, and make it even better, assuming you have enough time. Okay, we get to questions. Check the incorrect answer. Of course, Karma Yoga does not relate to meditation. It relates to selfless service, and save is another word. Selfless service. It often takes the form of volunteer work at home and can be extended into other areas as well, such as the workplace and temple. That's what the text says. True. The spirit of Karma Yoga is to quietly and willingly help others without complaint and without expecting thanks. That's definitely true. In its broadest sense, Karma Yoga is, check the incorrect answer. So the one that's not broad is volunteer work at a temple. All the others are defining Karma Yoga in a broad sense. One key to successfully turning work into worship is to work hard, overcoming lethargy, fatigue, confusion, and doubt. Definitely true. And our last lesson. Looks like we'll finish just about on time here. What is the purpose of the temple? Very important point to explain when you're teaching, as it's not necessarily understood. The temple is where we worship and commune with God and the gods. Here, devotees are uplifted and receive the inner help they need to live a positive, fulfilling life. Temples are sacred for 3 reasons. You remember the reasons, right? They all sound the same. Alliteration. They are constructed in a mystical manner. They are consecrated with special complex rites. And thereafter, continuous daily worship builds a holy force field. Construction, consecration, and continuous daily worship. So that makes it easy to remember. Our grand Saiva temples are like no other place on earth. Some are more than 1,000 years old. Strict rules from the agamas are followed to create such holy spaces where holiness, God, can reside. Devas, gods, and people work together to establish the temple and assure it will be used only for worship. Over the years, the power becomes strong, forming an invisible glass-like bubble or shield around the temple. This keeps out gross vibrations and allows the heaven worlds to be strongly present. As you approach God's home, you can feel the spiritual energy, and as you go inside, you are engulfed in peace. Here, the devas and gods can easily hear your prayers. Here, the ancient scriptures are chanted, the traditional rites knowingly performed. Here, joyous festivals are celebrated and arduous pilgrimages concluded. At the high point of puja, as bells ring loudly and conches blow, the deity sends rays of blessings through the enshrined image or murti. Flooding your aura, this energy can erase worries, clear confusion, and relieve sadness. Devotees leaving the temple feel inspired and lightened of burdens. Gurudeva explained that the stone or metal images are not mere symbols of the gods. The image is the physical plane form through which the gods' love, power, and blessings flood forth into this world. The image is like a temporary physical body the god uses during temple ceremonies. Okay, miss there. The temple, God's home, becomes a truly sacred place for us when we know that the gods are real beings and the purpose of going to the temple is to experience their blessings. That's kind of a summary of the whole idea. The gods are real beings, and we go to the temple to experience their blessings. And some Hindus don't believe that, and other Hindus who want to understand Saivism don't know that point yet. Temple is where we worship and commune with God and the gods. As a result, we are uplifted and receive the inner help we need to live a positive, fulfilling life. So I was just emphasizing that point. Worship and commune with, true. Enter the letter from below of A to C for the phrase that correctly completes the idea. Temples are sacred for 3 reasons. They are constructed, this is the one that's missing the second part, so we have to skip it. Some Saiva temples are more than 1,000 years old. 10,000 years ago, Hinduism wasn't using temples. Enter the letter from below of A to C for the phrase that correctly completes the idea. At the high point of the puja, as bells ring loudly and conches blow, the deity sends rays of blessings through the enshrined image. It sounds good. Flooding your aura, this energy, C, can erase worries, clear confusion, and relieve sadness. Devotees leaving the temple feel inspired and lighten the burdens. B. Gurudeva explained that the stone or metal images are mere symbols of the gods. So, of course, that's false. This is just emphasizing that though some Hindus believe that, in Saivism, definitely they're not mere symbols. It's the temporary physical body through which the deity blesses us during the ceremony. And that's our last slide. And we are right on time. Thank you very much for joining us. Have a wonderful rest of the day. Om Namah Shivaya.